All right, good morning. Welcome into another edition of Catching Up with Tommy Mack here on 1010XL's podcast platform at 1010XL.com. Of course, also on the 1010XL app. Make sure you download that and get all the great content that is done right here from the podcast studios of 1010XL. Great to be here. Great to be alive on a Tuesday after an awesome Memorial Day weekend. Of course, hope everybody had a safe and happy holiday weekend. And yesterday, just remembering those that have fallen, that have risked their lives to give us the freedoms that allow us to do things like we did yesterday. And what did we do? Well, we were at the beach all day, had a wonderful time. My brother in town with his nephews, my whole family there as well. And we just had a great day all throughout Memorial Day. So great to do that. This show brought to you by my friend Chris Lucero. Bail bonds, the number one name in the bail game. I told you, Chris helped us out recently. A family friend needed some help, and man, he got it done quickly. And the family was very happy that I was able to connect Chris Lucero's bail bonds to them in a time of need. Located in St. Augustine, but he helps people all over. He's got an office in Clay County as well, but helps people all over Northeast Florida. Also brought to you by Carpet Man, home of LVP, luxury vinyl planking, highest quality at the lowest prices. And they're located in Orange Park on Wells Road and in Jacksonville on St. John's Bluff. And a new quick mention, they'll officially start on Thursday, but J-Dog Junk Removal, a part of Catching Up with Tommy Mack. So let's get into it as we saw the NBA Finals come to a close. OTAs start today, or second week of them start today for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Some news and notes throughout the National Football League, including DeAndre Hopkins being cut from the Arizona Cardinals. Sounds like the Chiefs and the Bills are trying to get after him. We'll talk about that a little bit, and of course, we'll talk OTAs. Walker Little getting some play at left guard as well. Said he did some of that last year in practice, but giving him a look this year in the OTAs. Graham Marsh is here, my esteemed producer. Hey, Graham, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
How are you, buddy?
Doing? Fantastic.
You have a good weekend?
Oh, yeah. Great weekend.
You on the boat yesterday?
2 days ago, Sunday.
2 days ago.
Yep.
Sunday, right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Fort
yesterday.
George, what a great area, man.
Yesterday was a recovery day.
Nice. Yeah. Well, today's my recovery day. Let me just tell you.
Yesterday, rehydrated a little bit, got some food in me, stayed out of the sun.
Got to do it.
got caught up on sleep.
Got to do it.
Sunday was the fun day for sure.
Absolutely.
But great weekend overall.
Let's see. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday were fun days for me. I had to go into the gym a little bit later on, but it was a great weekend. No doubt about it. I did watch a little bit of Game 7. Little being the key word, but we were at an establishment out at the beach at Hawkers. Love sitting at the bar there. My brother and I and my wife and my oldest daughter and my nephew was sitting there. Obviously, the nephew wasn't at the bar, but we're watching the game. I think we watched the first quarter. First period.
I watched every dribble.
That was it. Congrats to the Heat. No one says you're going to beat the Nuggets, but, we'll see what happens, I guess. That's why they play the game.
Where the Heat, it's nice they won the series, but where they really screwed themselves is they were up 3-0.
No, right.
And they let the Celtics win 3.
Yep.
So now, even though they won the series, the Nuggets have had a week and a half of rest.
Which they could be a little rusty.
And the first 2 games are in Denver.
Yeah.
The Heat have not won in Denver since 2016.
The Heat got to get one of those to have a chance, I think.
That's
Maybe
correct.
you catch them with being rusty. Just, because sometimes that happens. I always think, like, with playoffs in the NFL, I don't really want a bye week unless I'm so beat up that my guys need to rest, to be at full strength. I don't want to miss a week. I want to keep going. We're creatures of habit, man. We throughout the week, this is what we do on Monday. This is what we do on Tuesday, Wednesday, and then the game Sunday. And then if you break that up, and then you got to go back to it, I think you can find a little rust in the machine.
If a significant player on your team has an injury that could use a couple extra days or something, that's when you want the bye week or whatever. But if you're healthy, I don't disagree with you.
I want to play. And even that last week of the regular season, I know there's a lot of, sit him. I would at least go through the pregame warm-up, maybe even a couple series, and then get them out.
Yeah, you got to let them sweat.
It's that creature of habit thing. I tell you, my linebacker coach, Steve Zabo, he was great. he also used to tell you, we're creatures of habit. Don't get into bad habits because they're hard to break. And he was talking about playing linebacker because you get in bad habits, right? You go underneath blocks. You don't take somebody on. You know, it's great if you make the play at the line of scrimmage or beyond it, but if they go for a big gain, then you totally screwed your team by not doing, the technique the right way. And he would always say that, don't get into bad habits because once you do, they're hard to break. And he was talking about everything, right?
How tough was it? Like if you're like for your case, because you had some injuries when you played, and you were a guy also that had to scrap and claw for every down you earned in the league.
Yeah.
How tough was it if you got hurt in like week 4 and you're out for like a month or something?
Well, I got hurt in week 2 and never played again. Really never played again in 1999 when I hurt my foot.
Damn.
So when they moved my locker to the middle of the locker room, I knew things were changing. Now, granted, I'd been gone. I had to leave because the surgery on my foot was pretty extensive.
Really?
I was like in a hard cast for like 10 weeks or something.
Oh.
Non-weight bearing. And
that's brutal.
It was a nasty injury. So I had been gone I was up in Chicago getting it done. There was a foot specialist up there that has his own foot institute, Dr. Weil. He was fantastic, Bears doctor growing up. So my mother, we used to work for him, and he worked on my foot.
Oh, nice.
When I was she was a nurse in the
operating room. It's kind of a cool full circle thing.
Yeah. So, and I trust him because he worked on my foot in high school. I had fractures in my 5th metatarsal, and I had a ligament that had to be reattached. High arches, I always ran on the outsides of my feet. So when I did this one in 99, I went up there, and it took a while to, just have the surgery, heal up enough to be able to travel home, then get back. So I was gone for like 7 weeks while we're on this incredible run. It was a year we went 14-2, but I never had to. I think my biggest challenge injury-wise was coming back from my ACL in 1998. So I got hurt early in 97 in camp, went on IR in camp, which means you're gone for the whole year.
Yeah. And
just rehab like crazy. And then, but still, it took a while to get used to playing on that knee again. And 98, I tell you, 98 training camp, I really had to turn it on the last 2 weeks. My first couple weeks were bad. I just didn't feel good. My leg was not feeling good. My knee hurt.
It's kind of in your head a little bit,
probably,
it was in my
head,
yeah.
And I was just playing terrible, like just awful. And I was feeling it. I was like, man, I better turn this thing around or I am not going to make this team. And I did. I ended up, forgetting about the knee and, just trying to make plays and ended up making that team and played every game that year. So
I've been not even close to your level because you played it at the highest level, but like I've been there with an injury before. When you're thinking about the injury, you can't perform.
Injuries are all. Injuries suck today. And when I work out and I get hurt, whatever it could be, whatever it could be. It's just so depressing.
It screws up your whole mojo.
Everything. You got no. It's like you're not as confident. You feel like you're a wounded animal almost. You got to look over your shoulder. It's kind of a weird feeling.
I think it's tough
to overcome.
I think it's tough for athletes too. Like if you ever played like competitive team sports.
Yep.
Because when you're hurt and you're like in the gym, like you have this like all or nothing mentality. Like I need to like accomplish every single thing I want to do in the gym.
Right.
And when you're hurt, sometimes you just can't do that.
Can't do it. No.
You have to pace yourself.
Right.
So like for me, one problem I have is it's like, well, if I can't do exactly what I want to do, I'm just not going to go to the gym at all.
Okay.
And I end up getting out of shape because it's like,
I try to work around it.
You know what I mean?
It's frustrating, and there's nothing worse. I mean, it took me a while to get over the fact that an injury took me out of the NFL. I mean, I was starting then, I was playing a lot. It was a tough thing to overcome, and then be like, when you want everything else to go, and the body doesn't go, that's when it's really challenging for an athlete. Now, when you get older, you can't do it anymore. You know what I mean? You're not going to, you're 40 years old. You're not playing middle linebacker in the NFL unless you've been playing the whole time, right? So
but at least
eventually you get over it.
But at least mentally, you knew there wasn't tread left on the tires.
No, right, yeah.
But when you get hurt at, how old were you? Probably
I was 29.
Late 20s, yeah.
Yep,
like
29.
You knew there was some tread left.
Absolutely.
So it's like, damn, man.
I had at least 3 or 4 more in me. without a doubt.
That's got to be tough. Like, that's mentally.
Yeah, and I think, when look, you heard Calvin Ridley talking about his injury and how it got him into a little bit of a depression. It can. I mean, it's now. Yeah, I don't. Look, you can get depressed over a lot of things, right? And when your body gives up, yeah. But eventually, you gotta. I did. You just get over it. You got to move on and move up. And hey, good for Calvin that he's healthy enough to play.
Honestly, this sounds
still run.
This sounds kind of insane,
fast.
But for his, like, not overall, obviously, but for his body,
yeah,
the suspension was one of the best things that could have happened.
Yeah,
because he
needed up a little bit.
Reading that Players Tribune article that he wrote,
yeah,
it sounded like, man, he needed like basically a full season to be able to get foot surgery, get recovered, and like truly properly let his foot heal.
Right.
And it sounded like before he was just, he was always pushing, and he was never getting back to who he really was. And the suspension gave him that chance to fully let his body heal.
My end of 4th year and 5th year at BC, I had a navicular fracture on top of my foot, and I didn't get it fixed.
That doesn't sound good.
And they just taped it real tight for games. It killed me during the week, and then the adrenaline took over for games, and just play with it. But yeah, it's that's one thing people don't, that haven't, been an athlete or competed at any level, or even at higher levels. Like, there's a lot of emotional stuff that goes into it, and you don't really realize it. You know what I mean? Like an injury that affects your game, that affects your play, that takes you out of the lineup or whatever it may be. You feel for guys. You feel like Ben Barch, right? Having a great year, and then boom, hurts his knee. I mean, injuries happen, but that sucks. That's like when? What a just unfortunate, unlucky. I tell people all the time, if you're playing 10, 12, 15 years in the league, there's some luck involved in that.
Oh, 100%.
There's some luck. And not just avoiding injury, but some guys even get injured but can make the recovery and it's no problem. They just get back to normal. Some guys can't, or some people can't. It just really depends on the body.
You know this as well as anybody. There's some in the league. There's some politics involved with that too. Because
no doubt.
If you are of a certain status in terms of draft pick or free agent or whatever, and the team has X amount invested in you, they're going to be more patient through your recovery and all that.
No doubt.
Versus if you're like a bottom of the roster guy and you get hurt, they may just cut your ass and you'll never see a roster spot again anywhere. You'll just never get the chance.
Well, Coughlin told me after I hurt my foot, so I hurt my knee in 97, came back, 99 was the foot. And he just told me, he's like, Tom, we can't invest in you anymore. 2 out of 3 years you've been on IR. And it sucked hearing it, but what are you going to do? I said, I get it. I'm still going to try. If it's not here, I'll try elsewhere. I took 3 visits, but nobody signed me, and it is what it is. But,
Tom was straight up, though, man.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciated it, and I didn't, and I get it. That was, and trust me, nobody wanted to play more than me, that year. But that's the nature of the beast. That's a little bit of the cutthroat side of the business. It's funny. My dad would always say, "What have you done for me lately, Tom? What have you done for me lately?" Not him saying that, just in life. Like, what have you done? Like, you have a good football game one week, you have a crappy one the next week. Well, guess what you're thinking of? The crappy one. You're not going, oh, but wait a minute, I played good 2 weeks ago. No. And then it got into life, like relationships, like my marriage, like for my wife. What have you done for me? What have you done for your spouse? Like, I think it's a good little thing to keep in your mind. Like, what have you done? Like, at your job, maybe, the boss is on your ass and you're like, well, what have you done lately? Well, I haven't closed the deal, or I haven't got something done, or projects late, or whatever. I don't know. You know what I mean? And then they're judging you on that. They're not judging it. Well, but wait a minute. I was employee of the month last month. Well, that was last month. Who cares about last month? We're talking about this month. There's something to that, especially with sports.
There's a sports podcast I listen to. It's an NBA podcast, and it's Ryan Russillo. I listen to him a lot, and he was saying he's so right. He's like, the worst guy in sports is remember when guy.
Right.
You don't want to be remember when guy.
No, right.
Because they were talking about, the reason they were talking about it was like Klay Thompson for the Warriors.
Yeah, right.
Like during the season, he didn't have like, and he's had a lot of injuries. He's been struggling. He didn't shoot very well in the playoffs, like all this stuff. And he'd be like talking mess with guys on other teams, and he would like count to 4 because they've won 4 rings. And he'd be like, 4 rings, 4 rings, 4. And it's like, dude, you're like, you're shooting 25% in this game.
Yeah,
like, shut up about 4 rings. Like, that's great. They won 4 rings, but it's like, now's not the time. You know what I mean? So it's exactly what you're talking about. It's like, what have you done for me lately?
Totally. I mean, look, Embiid won the Player of the Year MVP, but he didn't have a very good performance in the playoffs.
Round 2 bounce.
Right? So, I mean, he's still MVP, but what's the last impression?
The guy he beat out.
He bailed in the playoffs.
The guy he beat out for MVP, Nikola Jokic, is undeniably the best player in the league right now.
Man, the Heat are going to have a tough time with him.
Yeah, he's ridiculous, dude.
Tough time.
And now that his supporting cast is playing well, like his style is suited to win in the playoffs because he doesn't get beat up. He's a finesse player. He's such a good passer. He gets everybody involved. He's got touch. Like, he's so good.
Yeah,
he's ridiculous.
He's phenomenal. That'll be fun to watch. No doubt about it. DeAndre Hopkins cut from the Arizona Cardinals over the weekend or just before. You know, a lot of debate online. You know, should we go? I mean, I'd love to have him, but no, we don't. We don't need DeAndre.
Yeah, I'm good.
No,
I'm
good. We got Calvin. Christian Kirk's a great wide receiver. He proved his worth last year. Zay Jones proved his worth. Got some nuke targets. I'm good. I'm good. And that's no disrespect to DeAndre Hopkins because I still think he's one of the top wide receivers in the game.
He is. I agree with you. D-Hop's got a little diva to him, though.
Yeah, he does.
I just think back.
Well, think of the wide receivers that didn't. I mean, look at T.O. He didn't. You know, Randy Moss was a diva to 100%. A certain degree. You know, they all had drama going around with them.
100%. I just think
I'm open.
I love me some me.
I love me some me. I love T.O. T.O. is one of my favorite players, man. I would have loved him on my team.
Oh, I totally.
He was a little out there, but he would make me laugh. I'd be like, man, you're crazy, but you're fun and you're a badass football player. Period.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I tend to think that those guys don't end up winning a lot of rings at the end of their career a lot of the time.
It depends. And, you know, in his defense, if I may, he called the downfall of T.O., if there were, he obviously one of the top 2 or 3 receivers ever in the game of all time, is when he called out Donovan McNabb after the Super Bowl loss. Yeah. But I defended him. I was doing radio full time then. And the guy came back from, I mean, he probably shouldn't have played on that ankle, T.O. Had a phenomenal game. I mean, just was balling like crazy. And in the fourth quarter, Donovan McNabb's puking on the middle of the damn field. And he's dehydrated, can't do anything. And he said, and what did T.O. say? He's like, hey, I wasn't puking on the field. Like, I was making plays, and everyone gave him grief for that. I was like, no, you're right. I'd have been pissed at Donovan if all the stories are true that he went out the night before, or 2 nights before, or whatever, and got shellacked and, you know, dehydrated. I mean, you kidding me? It's the freaking Super Bowl. You know, it's. I don't know. You know, you go back to like, Eugene Robinson. Right? You go back to Eugene Robinson, the guy for the Atlanta Falcons. The night he wins the what did he win? The Man of the Year award, not Player of the Year, Man of the Year, like for all this stuff.
Walter Payton Man of the Year.
Yeah, maybe it was Walter Payton. It was something the night before the Super Bowl, and then he gets caught with a prostitute. You know, he goes out and gets arrested while his family's in the damn hotel. And what do you think Denver does on like the first series? They play action, faked him, and threw a bomb right over the top of him. You're like, well, no kidding, they did. That guy's head's not there. He's probably freaking out. His wife's gonna kill him. You know, like, holy cow! It's just amazing that you'd let that big of a opportunity just. And if they're true, I think Donovan probably denies that they're true, but nonetheless, T.O. showed up that game. And Donovan McNabb, he went the other way in 100%. The fourth quarter, especially. They had a chance to win that game.
1,000%.
Easy.
The Pats had no answer for T.O.
No, they didn't at all. He was insane.
I just think with guys like a guy like D-Hop, I don't want to. I'm not saying he's a bad teammate or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think back to that Charger game at halftime and a little bit before halftime, and I just think back to like, man, if you had a character like that on the team, would they have made the same comeback? The fact that all like the entire roster, everyone's singing the same exact sheet of music.
Yeah.
Everybody's together. Everybody's, we got your back. Just keep playing ball.
Right.
Like what they captured was so special.
Yeah.
And I think they still have that.
Yeah. Well, that's the culture they're talking about. They're not going to allow a diva to come in. And maybe
I agree,
maybe
100%.
diva is a strong word, but I know it is because he'd come in and he'd want the ball.
Yes.
Everybody wants the ball. We get that. But Doug Peterson's offense, you got to wait your turn.
And it's for someone.
They're going to ride the hot hand.
Right.
They're going to get you open, but you're not the only guy. There's more than, obviously, right? Even Ingram, when Ingram's, had a great year, there's still others to get the ball to. Hey, Calvin Ridley, you're going to be phenomenal. We're looking forward to it. But guess what? Christian Kirk still needs his, 70, 80 catches or whatever it is for this team to be successful.
Where Doug is so masterful as an offensive play caller.
Yeah.
Is he's so good at seeing what the defense is giving you, what they're taking away.
Where the mismatch is right away.
And so we saw it all, especially when they got on that run at the end of the year. One game would be the Christian Kirk game.
Right.
One game would be the Evan Ingram game.
Absolutely.
One game would be the Zay Jones game. One game would be the Travis Etienne game. He was so good at seeing, okay, this team is dedicating all their resources to stopping Christian Kirk.
Right.
Evan Ingram, it's your day.
That's right. We
Zay
got
Jones,
other
it's your day.
options. That's what you want.
Exactly.
Right?
And he wasn't forcing stuff. With a guy like D-Hop, you almost have to force things because he's D-Hop.
Right.
Right? So,
well, Calvin has a little bit of that. I mean, as far as, who's the number one wide receiver on the team?
Yeah, it's Calvin for sure. But
he's going to be like, look,
I see what you're saying.
I'm the guy. I want the ball. He may not do it publicly, but I'm sure he wants the ball. They all do, and I think Doug does a great job of spreading it out, right? And that's where the culture is, right? It's nothing's before the team. It's very simple. And look, you should all want everybody, especially go get those individual accolades. Go get them. You want to be all pro. You want to be Pro Bowl. You want to be all conference. You want to be all this. Those things are phenomenal, and you should work your butts off to try to get them. But none of that comes before the success of the team. And if you have guys on the team that really buy into that, that's when you got a team of culture. It's not that I know there's no I in team. There are I's in team. You just want them to come together and play like a team and not just be individuals, right? You got to have these individuals stand out. Calvin Ridley's got to be a stud. Christian Kirk's got to be a stud. Trayvon Walker, you got to be a stud. You know what I mean? Yes, but none of that is bigger than the success of the team. And that's one, by the way, I'm sorry to cut you.
You're good.
That's one thing Coughlin had. He made sure that was not. He gave leeway to guys, our star players, which was fine. But no, the team first. Success of the team. And his thinking was, hey, if we win, you all win. You know what happens? We get more Pro Bowl votes when we win.
100%.
We'll have more you'll have 7 guys instead of 2 or 1 or 0. When you have that winning season. So you put that, and I think that's what Doug, he does it differently, but Doug's, he's a smart dude. He's a former player, championship teams. He knows how it win. He knows how to get it done. He knows how to keep that culture. He knows what works and what doesn't. He knows what kind of attitude needs to go. He knows what kind of attitude needs to stay, And he's really good at that.
It goes back to exactly what you just said. If the team's winning ball games, a vast majority of this stuff is probably following suit, right?
Right.
What's a big reason they were winning a bunch of ball games in the back half of the year? Because Evan Ingram was unguardable.
Right.
And listen, the emergence of Evan Ingram, this is that selflessness. The emergence of Evan Ingram meant for a couple of weeks there was a little bit of lull for Christian Kirk. He wasn't getting a ton of balls.
Right.
You didn't hear him complain.
No.
He was like, no, we're winning, man. Let's keep it pushing.
That's right.
And then back half of the season, all of a sudden Christian Kirk's back and he's making great plays. So, and it's exactly what you're talking about. Everybody was singing the exact same sheet of music all season. So
selfless is a great word you just used. That's what you feel like's in that locker room. And you need that. You need a bunch of selfless individuals that just want to win. And when you win, everything's better. Everything.
Yes.
You get more car deals. You get more sponsorship deal. You know what I mean? Even the backup guards get stuff. You know what I mean? They do. When you win, everybody does. And it's just a great, great feeling. But I do think they'll continue that. I'm looking forward to seeing how Antonio Johnson develops. I'm really intrigued by this kid. OTAs again, this week. They're out there on the field. I cannot make. Today's the only day they allow the media, right? On Mondays?
Yeah.
Yeah, or the first day of the week, Tuesday. I will not be out there, but looking forward to seeing all the hype videos. Look at this guy running on grass. Look at him. Look at him go. Wow, look at that punch on the sled. I always love that one. Getting work in on the sled. Wow, that's so impressive. Holy cow. No, but it's good. I'm looking forward to see what he can do. Will he crack this starting safety lineup? I wouldn't expect him to. I think Cisco, I'm still waiting for Cisco to be a complete. I think he's getting there, right? He's in spurts. He needs more consistency of being a complete safety that you need back there. And Rashad Jenkins, you ain't moving him anywhere. That guy had one of his best years ever. He's still young. What a find he's been, right? From grabbing him from San Diego when they were San Diego back then. I think for at least a couple, 2 or 3. He was there for 4 years, so maybe 2 or 3 of the years. But
he was there during the move.
Yeah, so I think he's good, man. I think he's solid. But I want to see Antonio Johnson, see what he can do, and that maybe he can play a little bit of the slot. Maybe.
And I was gonna say, in a perfect world, I don't know if it'll work.
Slot guy, no.
But in a perfect world, he's my nickel.
Right.
Darius Williams and Tyson Campbell are my outside corners. Yep. Cisco and Jenkins are my safeties, right?
This is going to be a big year for Tyson Campbell. This is he's already ascending. Remember the first year? He would be right there, but just couldn't make a play on the ball. He never got burnt. Like, he was always, right in coverage, right on the hip or nearby, but couldn't turn. And then what happened the year after? He started making plays on the ball.
And that's a guy, too. We again, talk about the same, that locker room vibes they have.
Yep.
That guy in 2021, with everything that was going wrong that year, outside of just him, but him included, his own game.
Yeah.
That guy, he never complains, never makes excuses. Nope. That guy had a really tough first half of the year.
He did.
He picked himself up. He figured it out the back half of 2021. All of a sudden, 2022 was a fantastic year for him.
Yeah.
And we all expect the same thing in 23, but that's another example of a dude that just works. Like, he doesn't, no excuses, nobody else's fault.
You gotta have it.
It's just, this is my job.
Yeah.
And if I mess up, I need to do better.
Right.
And once I'm doing better, I
tell you, man, they've got to, they got to figure out the pass rush. Because if you got a corner like that, Darius Williams, no joke either. He can be a solid corner, too. You get a pass rush to go along with that coverage. Oh.
And you get a pass rush, by the way.
Now you're talking.
Nickel was a huge issue for them last year.
Oh, yeah.
You get a pass rush.
Yep.
All of a sudden, that nickel's going to look like an all-pro, right?
Nickel's hard. They spread you out, and then they pound the ball, man. It's hard to stop the run in nickel. Typically, that nickel corner is one-on-one with that slot receiver, and if there's no rush, guy's open. Maybe not wide open. Maybe you're right there on the hip, but he's open.
In my opinion, in 2023 and the way football is played, it's the most underrated position in football.
It's one of the more important ones.
Because
if you think about, right, QB, left tackle, pass rusher, number one wideout, shutdown corner, then I'd say nickel. Right.
And those other positions you just said, we all know how important they are.
Right.
And just watch the draft. The draft is what tells you how big of an emphasis is placed. All those other positions always get drafted high.
Yep.
But it's, for some reason, it's considered like dumb to take a nickel corner.
Not today. Think about how many snaps are a nickel.
Exactly, 100%.
Probably 50.
And think about how screwed you are if your nickel is a liability.
Right.
If your nickel's getting cooked by like a Christian Kirk type guy, I mean, we saw it offensively. We enjoyed the benefits. But
Tom Brady made a living, a career out of hitting the slot.
Yes.
I mean, seriously. I mean, that's all he had to do. Him and Gronk. They were, it was either Edelman or Walker before him. Just really good slot wide receivers. Well, Walker, right?
Welker. Wes Welker.
Yeah, Wes Welker.
But it's exactly what you're saying. And for some reason, it's like if you were to draft a nickel like in the first round and you said that's my nickel,
right?
Everybody would kill the team for that.
I don't know. They're drafting guards in the first round. You can draft a nickel. You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly. It's like this guy's gonna play 75% of my snaps.
Damn right. If he's good enough, he's starting on my team, no doubt about that. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. I know Graham here's got to get out to OTAs and catch all that footage, and we'll report on it this Friday. Friday night, Dad Bods at Island Wing Company in Bartram Springs. Looking forward to that.
Let's go.
Come on out. It'll be a rocking show. We got a couple new tunes. Looking forward to that. Friday day, I'll be back at Jaguars today, right here on 1010XL, talking Jags, and then I'll jump into the podcast studio as well. Again, want to thank Chris Lucero's Bail Bonds, the number one name in the bail game, the Carpet Man, home of LVP, and new to the program, J-Dog Junk Removal. It's not just junk, but we'll tell you more about them later in the week. Y'all have a great day. Be safe. Be cool. We'll see you next time right here on Catching Up with Tommy Mack. Peace.